Alright, Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. Sorry for the delay. I just edit the slide for chapter 5. Okay, so chapter 5 is a halal risk management plan we have done last week, and I suppose there will be N here. Okay, saya lupa nak betul. And the raw material procedure control. Okay, alright. So yang ni pun saya tak edit. Final exam should be on after week 14. We are now here. Okay, chapter 5, a development of halal risk management plan and raw material control procedure. So I hope you already clear about the HRMP, how to conduct the HRMP. It almost similar to the HACCP, but there is a slight difference compared to the HACCP. Okay, now I'm going to proceed to chapter 5, the raw material control procedure. Okay, so we have another halal audit, training, traceability system, HAS review, lab analysis, CER2 procedure. So this is the another 6 content from the HAS manual. The minimum requirement for the HAS manual is here. Another 6 yang kita belum cover lagi. Okay, so don't worry, it's not very long. Okay, I inshallah next week I cover chapter 6 and 7 for 3-hour session. Okay, and then we're gonna have the laboratory analysis and CER2 procedure, and then chapter 9 will cover the HAS and IHC according to the scheme. Scheme logistik, scheme OEM, scheme rumah sembelih dan sebagainya. Okay. Alright, so this is the slide of HRMP. I go jump to the yes. So last week is until here, the example of the halal risk management plan from the MHMS. Okay, so today we're going to start with step 6, establish raw material control. So this raw material control is one of requirement for the small and micro industry, SME, right? Because under SME, small and micro, we have number 1, the halal policy. Number 2 is the establish the raw mat control or halal risk control. So either one is either you're going to do the halal risk control for your company, especially for the SME, or you can only do the raw material control, because in the MHMS it state either one. Dia boleh jadi you tak ada halal risk control. Okay, you tak ada HCP semua, tapi you hanyalah you akan kawal the raw material. Example, contoh macam online business, making for online business baking for kerepek. Dia tak ada dia punya step by step what is the halal control point, but what they done is the controlling the raw material. Apakah material digunakan untuk buat kerepek, ataupun business online brownies contoh. So kita kawal what are the raw material involved in production of the brownies, but you don't have the halal risk management plan for the what we call is as so-called a micro business. Sangat kecil lah, dia tak perlu sampai ada halal risk management plan, sebab dia tak ada pekerja pun, dia seorang je yang usahakan, contoh lah. Okay, number 3 is the ability to trace or traceability. So these are 3 requirements, especially for the small and micro industry. Okay, now establish raw material control. The organization or applicant must create a written procedure for raw material control and or trading goods, which include process of purchasing, receiving, storage with records to review. So after you done this, you need to do a proper record for review process or for inspection process. Raw material control procedure should be developed to ensure, okay, kenapa kita kena buat? Why should we do the procedure for raw material control procedure? So the purpose, number one, there will be no usage or storage of raw material with adopted halal status. Mana yang meragukan, kita tak akan guna. Sebab tu kita kena ada kawalan kepada bahan mentah. Okay, raw material control, the purpose is to avoid the usage of the adopted halal status. Number two, usage and changes of raw material should be declared to the authorized body immediately. So let's say you change the material or the ingredient in the production, you need to declare, because the previous time probably JAKIM approved for set of raw material yang awal-awal you hantar. Sekali tengah tahun you ubah ingredient, you nak letak emulsifier untuk memekatkan lagi ataupun you nak letak humidifier untuk melembapkan lagi chocolate cake. Okay, so humidifier. Betul ke? Saya pun dah tak ingat dah. Bukan humidifier. To moisture the cake. Tak apalah, nanti kita tengok contoh ingredient. Okay, it's not humidifier. Kita letak to moist it. Ada anti-caking. No, tak apalah, abaikan dulu. Okay, so the purpose is to make sure the cake moist, extra moist. So you change the ingredient, then you need to inform JAKIM. Number 3, usage of raw material should follow the law and regulation related. Okay, so basically we have two major steps. The first one is to develop the master list of raw material and processing aid. This is two different things. Okay, raw material and processing aid. And number 2, then after we develop the master list, we construct the raw material control procedure. So there are two major steps in order to do or to establish the raw material control. Okay, so master list ingredients should include the raw material and processing aid and should be updated for any changes in raw material. Master list in digital form should be easy access, and all records should be documented for certification, assessment and audit. You can do in either digital form, or you need to as well print it for the documentation. So this is the master list of raw material, the first step. Okay, so the first step, we construct the master list of your raw material. So list of master list ingredients should contain at least of the following. Kena ada all these requirement, 8 requirement. First, name of raw material. Okay, so let's say it's your production is fish ball. So raw material is the fish. Okay, probably ada scientific name, raw material fish daripada ikan apa ikan salmon. So what is the scientific name probably? Alright, okay, so master list, like I told you, you should include the raw material and also the processing aid. So other than fish, should we give one example of processing aid? Emulsifier, ataupun you nak letak collagen, okay, ataupun gelatin or glycerin. So all these things are processing aid. So let's say the processing aid is the glycerin. Okay, name of raw material and processing aid, should be processing aid here. Master list kena buat dua, raw material and also the processing aid. Then include the scientific name or coding. Let's say there is no scientific name for glycerin, you should also state the code usually state for glycerin, probably the E code. So E code ni pergi cari apa maksud E code. E code is the ingredient or additive used in the processing of food. Selalu kita letak dalam E code. Sebab apa? Sebab terlalu banyak nama dia, jadi dia letak dalam bentuk number or coding or trade name. Then source of raw material. Okay, where is the glycerin coming from? It's coming from the Contoh cow. Or animal base, animal oil. Alright. Yang fish tadi ni daripada mana? Source of raw material coming from the supplier siapa, ataupun daripada laut mana, ataupun dari farm mana yang ternak ikan salmon tu. So name and address of supplier for raw material. So list down the name and address of the salmon punya supplier or the glycerin supplier. Declaration status of raw material to the authorized body. So ask the COA. Sebab fish kan, fish kita nak COA lah, ada chemicals ke tidak. Whereas for glycerin, we ask for the halal cert from the supplier. Contoh supplier adalah syarikat Bumi Jaya. Contoh. So ask the halal cert from the syarikat Bumi Jaya. So Bumi Jaya ni adalah Muslim company contohlah, tapi kita kena minta halal cert as well. And then okay, so hold on. Alright, raw material certification information. Okay, so you should get the expiry date of the halal cert of the company. Tengok halal cert dia dah masih due, masih ada ke ataupun dah above the expiry date. And authorized body of halal cert, siapakah yang mengeluarkan sijil halal. Contohnya kalau di Malaysia, JAKIM. Kalau diambil daripada Hong Kong, who is the issuance of the halal cert for that particular ingredient or the processing aid. Supporting document. Raw material without the halal certification must provide information of sources with supporting document as proof of raw material sources. Contoh, there are no halal ataupun halal. Okay, yang ni pun kena ada halal juga sebenarnya untuk ikan. Sebab apa? Ikan, what they feed the fish. So the feed or the fish also is actually benda ni baru lagi halal feed ataupun animal feed. Makanan ikan tu adakah halal ke tidak? So benda tu boleh jadi HCP as well. Okay, so yang ni kalau kata tak ada sijil halal untuk ikan salmon ni, kita kena minta supporting document. Apakah bahan makanan yang diberi makan kepada ikan tu? What is the animal feed given? So to ensure that okay, there's no doubt ataupun yang diragukan terhadap ikan salmon tersebut. And finally, you need to do the record. Okay, so example of equal in food additive as processing. So this is what I've been explained just now. You need to use the code because there are so many food additive in the world. Okay, so code from 100 to 199 is the food colors. 200 to 99 is the preservative. So these are some examples you can see here. 300 399 is antioxidant. 400 499 example is thickener emulsifier. Okay, as you can see here, the 400 until 499 usually considered as a critical ingredient. These are the example of critical ingredient. If in MS 2020, this group of ingredient, especially the 400 and the 499, need to do the lab analysis before you obtain, before apply for halal cert. Ini syarat baru. The requirement of lab analysis for critical ingredient before applying the halal cert is considered under food additive E number 400 to 499. Example is thickener, emulsifier and stabilizer. Bukan ini saja, dia boleh jadi banyak lagi. So these are example of plant-based, cellulose and agar. Okay. Ada lagi kod lain Ini sebahagian. Ada lagi macam saya cakap tadi, glycerin. Glycerin dalam kategori oil. Okay. So what else? 500 599 acidity regulator and anti-caking agent. 600 999 flavor enhancer like MSG. 700 999 until 999 sweetener, foaming agent and gases. Okay, so basically 400 to 499 is example of critical ingredient that you have to make sure the raw material or the processing egg coming from the halal sources. Sama juga macam ni lah. Emulsifier type 400 to 499 to enable a fine portion of oil in water. Tujuan emulsifier ni untuk melarutkan air di dalam minyak. Okay, supaya tak ada separation. Cuba you letak minyak dalam air, dia akan nampak kelompok-kelompok kan. So tujuan emulsifier ni untuk menjadikan dianya homogenized. So tak ada separation. Kalau separation nanti dia akan jadi lapisan minyak kat atas. So dalam air dalam ni. So kalau dalam industri makanan, benda ni ataupun kita panggil separation, if there is separation inside the processing food, selalunya dikaitkan dengan low grade. Bukannya, how do I tell you, setengah orang dia nampakkan benda ni macam dah kotor, dah busuk, macam tu. Okay, but this is actually a normal situation in the food processing industry. Tapi untuk mengelakkan kekeliruan consumer, dia perlu letak emulsifier supaya bahan tu nampak cantik. Selalu dia dalam peanut butter. Peanut butter, kalau you perasan ada peanut, ada lapisan oil. So selalunya emulsifier, kalau ada emulsifier dia akan jadi sebati. Kalau dia tak letak emulsifier, dia mungkin akan ada layer of the oil above the peanut butter. Alright. Okay. So basically this is the example in the MHMS. This is how you're going to do the master list to submit for the HAS manual. Okay, contoh kat sini, name of the raw material, scientific name, and then what is the sources, is it chemical made or plant based or animal based, the address of the supplier, halal status, okay, the body, the authorized body, the expiry date of the halal status or halal cert, supporting document if you don't have the halal cert. If you have, like contoh macam ni JAKIM ada, so dekat sini dia jadi not null ataupun tidak berkaitan. Kalau tiada daripada badan sijil halal, you need to provide the processing ingredient breakdown. Contohlah dokumen like process flow, ingredient breakdown, product spec, MSDS and also COO. Okay. Tengok macam ni. Kalau sodium hyaluronate, scientific name is 002, or the coding, chemical base, supplier syarikat B, status pengisytiharan bahan mentah kepada pihak berkuasa ya, tiada badan, tiada pengeluar sijil halal, tiada, jadi dia kena bagi ingredient breakdown, product spec. Okay, so sumber bahan, ni ada catatan, record sijil hampir tamat tempoh. Sumber bahan mentah dikenal pasti pada ISO. Para dokumen MSDS, sumber bahan mentah adalah dari sumber yang halal dan tiada bahan yang meragukan, rujuk lampiran. So ada catatan. So kalau kata tak ada sijil halal daripada sumber sodium ni, kita refer kepada this one. So JAKIM akan analyse sendiri the supporting document, then dia akan declare. Maksudnya based on your declaration, JAKIM akan analyse sendiri. This is your judgement. You kata tak ada bahan yang dikenal pasti sebagai bahan yang meragukan. And then capsule gelatin. So this is example of critical ingredient. Kalau capsule gelatin ni mungkin you kena pergi hantar lab. Bukan mungkin, memang kena hantar lab testing for this particular. Okay. Kalau kata dah ada sijil halal, then no need to do so. Okay, so the scientific name, sumber sources is animal based, syarikat C, status yes, si badan pengeluar HCA. I'm not sure negara mana HCA. Nanti boleh search lah, halal I don't know, HCA. Dia cari negara mana lah. Due date 31st December. Okay, so you can also give the supporting document, the halal cert for the gelatin, the COO of gelatin, okay, and also permit import gelatin. Okay, so catatan, loji sembelihan gelatin diiktiraf oleh DVS, veterinary punya division, okay, badan veterinary. Okay, lobak plant based semula jadi. So pengisytiharan bahan mentah kepada pihak berkuasa, yes, and then this one tak perlulah sebab dia bahan mentah, tidak berkaitan dan sumber semula jadi. So macam inilah yang you kena buat. Okay, yang ni ayam, haiwan dan sebagainya, CJ halal dan CJ halal permit import. Okay, so now after you have done the step number 1 to do the master list, now we're going to do the second step, which is the raw material control procedure. The objective is to ensure the purchasing, receiving and storage of raw material follow the MPPHM 2020. The scope: workers involved in purchasing, receiving and storekeeper. The scope, siapa yang involved dalam raw material control procedure is the purchasing, receiving and storekeeper is under the responsibility of purchasing officer, receiving officer and also warehousing officer. Dia ada task dia. Purchasing officer dia jaga bahagian purchasing, receiving jaga during receiving, and also warehouse will control the storage of the product, raw material. So frequency, when are we going to do the control procedure? The raw material control procedure is for every transaction or every batch of raw material. Procedure is purchasing, receiving and storage. So now we're going to see the specific procedure. So this is the procedure. Okay, procedure, purchasing, receiving and storage. So what are the job scope ataupun job description for the particular officer? So for purchasing officer, number 1, they need to ensure the purchasing of raw material from supplier approved by ISH601Part. Ensure the raw material contain halal cert and supporting documents such as MSDS, COA, and any changes must be updated to ISH6. Purchasing record should be kept. Okay. Purchasing record should be kept systematically, especially the invoice, the PO and also DO, and monitor the HCP and perform the corrective action. For receiving officer, they need to ensure the raw material with approved halal cert by ISH6 with supporting document. Okay, make sure dia terima barang yang betul-betul approved, ada CJ halal, dan approved by the ISH6 as well with supporting document. Monitor the HCP and perform the corrective action. Ensure the supplier information and the halal status in raw material packaging can be clearly identified and do the traceability procedure. Ini penting. Kalau kita go back to the issue, current issue, which is the cartel yang fake logo or fake meat, fake halal meat. So what happened? This is not clearly stated. I can see here. Ensure the supplier information and the halal status in raw material packaging can be clearly identified. Okay, ni mungkin ada. Sebab waktu dia cakap tu, dokumen halal pun di fake kan. Dan juga apa lagi? Sijil halal ataupun logo halal label. But then if the receiving officer do the background check, probably background check, sebab dia tak percaya kepada logo halal dan dokumen halal yang dibawa oleh supplier ataupun middleman, what should they do? They do the traceability. Okay, katakanlah sampai daging, dia tengok ada CJ halal, dia tengok ada logo halal, tapi dia still tak percaya. Kata kalau dia tak percaya, then they do the traceability procedure. So dia cari, dia search, okay, daging ni datang daripada Argentina, dan dibawa oleh syarikat logistik ABC sebagai middleman dan diletakkan di dalam warehouse di Johor. Dia trace back. So dia pun cari Argentina ni, supplier Argentina, seperti yang dalam persetujuan dia. Okey, memang daging tu memang datang daripada Argentina. You check balik, adakah daging dari Argentina ni dah ada halal cert, and then approved by whom or certified by whom, their halal cert body. So JAKIM dah pernah datang ke Argentina untuk verified that slaughterhouse. So you pun percaya. Itulah maksudnya traceability procedure. You cari, trace back, bukan rely on the document and the logo only. Okay. So ensure the contamination NCR raw material not followed the spec should be quarantined. So let's say tak ada data, okay, ataupun bila you trace back, dekat Argentina tak ada pun slaughterhouse yang halal. So dah ada keraguan dekat situ. So what should you do? As a receiving officer, they need to ensure the contaminated NCR of raw material not follow the spec should be quarantined and issue the written note or disposal form. So in future, due to this issue yang saya cakap tadi, issue halal fake logo and also haram made, probably during receiving we need to do the halal testing in future lah. Sebab benda ni pun belum di endorsed by JAKIM, tapi kita nampak keperluan halal testing. Selain you ability you trace back the supplier, you should do the halal testing using the halal test kit. So kita boleh detect, okay, memang daging-daging ni secara samplingnya memang kita nampak, okay, memang daging halal dan juga disembelih. Kita boleh check lah. Okay, so for storage, bila dah receive, simpan dalam store, so you pass over to the storekeeper to handle the raw material. So monitor the HCP, and what is their task is to monitor the HCP and perform the corrective action. Inform IHC for any NCR or halal related issue. Ensure the supplier information and halal status in raw material packaging can be clearly identified and traceability can be done. Samalah dia punya task. Perform the good storage practice according to SOP required. Ensure, contohnya make sure letak dalam cool temperature. Avoid the temperature danger zone. So that is example of good storage practice. Avoid the raw material and product to avoid the cross contamination. And then ensure the contaminated NCR of the raw material not follow the spec should be quarantined and issued the written note and disposal form. Sama juga dia punya task tu. Okay, so basically this is the form you should do. Okay, letak master list, and akhir sekali you kena sediakan benda ni untuk ditandatangan oleh siapa? Eksekutif halal, pengurusi JKHD, and then the CEO sign. So this coming from the MHMS 2020. That's it. We have done with the raw material control procedure. Okay, so if let's say you have listened to my YouTube, give me a love button in the Microsoft Teams so that I can notice whether you have watched my video or not as your attendance. Thank you so much for your attention, and Assalamualaikum.